So you want to remove your air filter housing using a 5/16, or it might even be a 3/8. I can't remember exactly. Take the little hose clamp off of your air intake plenum, and you want to set your air filter aside out of the way. It's going to make it a lot easier to reach the passenger side coil packs and spark plugs. It's good to wear gloves, keep everything clean, keep your hands clean. I use the spider gloves. You can get them from HVAC supply houses, electrical supply houses. You might even be able to find them at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're the higher end rubber gloves, kind of heavy duty. I like them a lot. They work out pretty well when you're working on automotive stuff and you still get pretty good feeling in your hands instead of wearing like mechanics gloves. Plus they come in a big box, so if you rip them you can always change them out. So I set that aside, get it out of the way. Take the bottom part, get that out of there. There's like a little clip holding it in. Once you remove it, it's really easy to remove. That's going to open it up a lot more, allow you to get in there a lot better. And you can see your coil pack. Oh, skip that part. My GoPro camera, it's got a wide fisheye lens. That's why this video might not be very good. But that's all I had, and I didn't really have a cameraman. So here you're taking off there's two bolts that hold on your air intake manifold plenum, or I think that's the name of it. And right here I'm kind of trying to find where the other bolt is. It took me a while to find it, but it's kind of hiding under there. It looks like it's right behind that alternator. You got to move the hose out of the way and disconnect a little electrical clip right next to it, and I believe it's another 5/16 bolt holding it on. So there's two of them that are holding it on, and you see right there it's kind of in the location where it's at. You gotta move that hose a little bit, take off that little electrical connector, and it's kind of right behind there. Probably don't get a good eye. There it is, but a lot of shaky camera. So what I do is I just get that out of there. So that'll take your whole intake manifold plenum off. So we skip over to that, and I'm starting to gap the plugs. Now I'm probably not doing this the best way, but the factory plugs came gapped in at 0.035, and I did some research, and there's a lot of different things out there, but you just want to consult your owner's manual unless you're trying, more than me. But that's 0.040 is what I found to be right. So here, this is an important part to do. You want to apply your anti-seize to your threading, and when you do it, when you apply it on there, you want to make sure that you don't get any of the spark part. Don't get any gook on that, because that's just going to mess everything up. So if you can kind of see, I'm applying it kind of at the bottom side of the threading, trying to stay away from that spark thing on the plug, because you just don't, you want to kind of do your best to not get anything on that. So you apply it, and then you can get those little packets from, I got them from Advanced Auto Parts. You can get them from AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, Napa, anywhere really. You can probably find it at Home Depot or Lowe's if you really looked. So now what I'm doing is looks like I'm applying dielectric grease to the other side of the spark plug. Now, I don't get on the metal part of it or anything. I stay away from that. And you also want to put a little bit on your boot, on your coil packs, just a little bit, nothing crazy, just enough to get it a little bit on there. helps with contact. And I changed my gloves out when I did that, so I wasn't using the same gloves for applying the threading anti-seize. I changed them out. This is the Black Mamba gloves right there. Those are the good ones. So once you get all that stuff put on, you kind of get a good idea set up of what you want to do. Get it all prepped up. I do 4 at a time, and there's 2 plugs per coil pack, and I did not show removing the coil packs. My camera got screwed up, but I believe it's 2 10mm bolts on each side of the coil pack, and you take them off and you just give it a little tug and they should come right out. So if you look in there, you can see there's 2 little holes kind of close to each other. There's a spark plug in each one. Now I'm showing the driver's side only in this video because that's the toughest side to do. And if you can do the driver's side, you can definitely do the passenger side very easily because there's a lot more room on the other side. The hard part is when you actually get on the back side of the driver part, you have, it looks like that master cylinder in the way, and it gets really tight. You have to use a smaller extension, telescopic magnet, and I broke mine in the video, but I was still able to use it. I had to bend it. So if you can get a telescopic magnet that can bend at 90 degrees, that's your best friend right there. I ended up, after this video, I ended up buying one just so I can have one on my truck for my next change. And I think in the manufacturer's specs for maintenance, I think it says you want to replace your spark plugs every 30 to 60,000 miles. I could be wrong. I know you want to do it every 60,000 miles. I think the guy up at the parts house told me 30,000. And he had a Dodge Ram. He was all knowledgeable, it seemed like, so I listened to him. And I got about 64,000 miles on my truck right now. So once you get it, these are the easy parts. You just want to hand tighten it, and then once you get a little bit of resistance, you put your socket wrench on there, and don't try and tighten it up there like that, because you don't have any room for turning or anything like that. You'll see here probably on the next one I'll end up switching it down to the bottom side, because you got a lot more turning radius on your socket wrench. See, that's what I just did. And get it pretty snug. I didn't use a torque wrench. I just did it, didn't over tighten it, just give it a nice snug thing. And I probably, master mechanic said you want to use a torque wrench and do it right. But that's just the way I did it. I probably could have done it right, but I just didn't want to. I was too lazy to go out and get my torque wrench. But I just did it snug, and that seemed to work pretty good. Now you want to have a socket that has that rubber piece in there to grab that spark plug. Then you won't even need a magnet to pull it out. And that's what I used on my first, I think, 10 or 12 spark plugs, until you get back to that very last double section there. And this is kind of get to the harder spot. And once you loosen it, you can take your wrench off and just loosen your extension by your hand. Usually works out better. And it's a good way to do it when you put a new plug back in, to not start your threading with your socket wrench attached. You want to start your, when you put the new plug in, you want to start the threading where you're doing it with your hand turning on the extension, if that makes any sense. And the reason why I say that is because you don't want to accidentally cross thread those plugs, because if you do, you will hate getting them out, and you will hate doing that, making that mistake. So this is where it gets really tough, and it's hard to see in the video, but this is your last section here. I skipped over a couple of spark plugs in the video just so it's not so redundant. This is the tricky part. This is the one that everybody complains about. A lot of times this is the reason why people don't do it themselves. It's not as hard as you think it is, but you will need a 3-inch extension. And your spark plug wrench socket needs to it needs to be on your, not the large set of socket wrench, but the medium set. And I didn't have one for the medium set, so I had to use a bunch of different adapters because it was for the large set. I think it was 3/4 inch. It's the largest socket wrench set that came in my pack. But it's so tight in there, you need a 3-inch extension. I used a 5/8 regular socket, deep socket, that didn't have the rubber part on the socket itself like your normal spark plug sockets had. The reason why was because I did not have it in that correct size for the wrench I was using. So anyway, that's the tough part there. And in order to get, since I don't have that rubber inside that socket, it does not grab your spark plug when you pull it out. So this is where you're going to need your telescopic magnet. And you see how it's bent like that? That's something, that thing did not break, thankfully, but that is not made to bend like that. I had to throw that away after using it. And I ended up buying a 90-degree telescopic magnet. So that way if I ever come to this problem again, I'll be able to get in there. But you pretty much have to kind of fish your magnet in there to grab the socket out, or to grab this spark plug out. And it looks like what had happened was I did not loosen it enough, so it was still connected to the threads very loosely, so the magnet wasn't able to grab it out. So I had to put it back in there. And the crappy part about this is there's so little room, you actually have to put it in there piece by piece. So you have to hold the deep well socket with your left hand, and with your right hand you have to connect your extension, your 3-inch extension on it. And the reason why is because you have to kind of have the deep well socket partially in the hole in order to get that in there like that, because there's so little space to put it all in there. So you have to piece it all together. So I'm grabbing the spark plug now, the magnet. I don't know how old those are. They look like they've been some time. I bought this vehicle with close to 50,000 miles on it, so I'm not 100% sure what the original owner did with his maintenance on it, but definitely wanted to change them out. So you see in there, I got in there, had to piece it all together while the socket is actually in the hole. You have to piece it together, tighten it. Now there might be an easier way to do this, but this is the way I did it. And between using the camera and taking my time, setting everything up, taking a few breaks here and there, it probably took me about 2 hours working on it non-stop. Like if I didn't take any breaks, probably could have got it done in about an hour. But yeah, it's not so bad. Just that's the annoying part right there. You can see me trying to fish the socket in and then connect the ratchet to the socket while holding it with my left hand, and do the same thing, give it a nice snug fit in there. Probably wouldn't even be able to fit a torque wrench up in that one, at least not mine.